Hi, everyone. Welcome to Recovery Season 2, the new normal. Thank you for your support, as always. I am your host, Alain Kapatashungu. And in this episode, I am excited to speak to one of the most respected leaders within our industry, Jim Litten. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, President of F.C. Talker Company. Jim, how are you doing today?
Alain, I'm doing great. Everything's great here in Indiana.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Well, Jim, if you're ready, we can get started right with the questions.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So the first question that we always like to ask our guest, Jim, is can you walk us through your quote unquote typical work day during this pandemic since it pretty much started? Like
Oh,
how your day's been like for you, pretty much.
well, I think to do that, I probably need to start back in
Sure.
March of last year,
Absolutely.
um, when the pandemic really uh, got bad
Okay.
and everything was shutting down. I have two other people that are on my executive leadership team. I can
Yeah.
remember meeting with them on the morning of March the 13th and
Wow.
saying, what are we going to do?
Yes.
Because certainly it was uncharted territory as to
Absolutely.
what we should be doing.
Yes.
And, we were very fortunate in Indiana that our governor made real estate an essential service
Wow.
and let us, we were still allowed to keep operating.
That is
But
awesome.
certainly we were very concerned about the welfare of all of our people.
Absolutely.
And so we made a very, very difficult decision to close our offices,
Wow.
send all of our administrative staff home with
Okay.
computers,
Okay.
and ask all of our agents to work remotely.
Wow.
And now we did still keep our accounting department operational,
Yes.
our mortgage company operational, and our title insurance company operational.
Got it.
And the reason being is we had so many pending transactions
Oh,
that needed to come to fruition.
yes.
So
Makes
we
sense.
were operating remotely. Uh, we did allow the agents to come into the office
Okay.
and pick up their belongings,
Yeah.
but we encouraged them to stay separated in our corporate office. As I said, the only thing that was open in our corporate office was our accounting department because we still needed to pay the bills and write commission
Absolutely.
checks to agents.
Absolutely.
But as the pandemic continued, throughout March and April,
Yes.
we got to about the middle of May, the end of
Okay.
May of last
Okay.
year, and things started getting better. The
Yes.
numbers started going down, so we gradually reopened our offices.
Okay.
And initially, Elaine, when we did that, uh, agents were reluctant to come back in. They, they they were used to working at home, and most of
Absolutely.
them were still selling a lot of real estate. In
Wow.
fact, in May of last year, we had the biggest month in our 103-year history
That
up
is
until that time
incredible.
in
It's
sales.
incredible.
And I
Wow.
think part of the reason for that was, when the pandemic came, sales in March went down about 6% over
Wow.
March of 19. But
Okay.
then in April, sales went down 23%.
Wow.
And so there was a lot of pent-up demand
Yes.
that came out in May. And I think, one of the byproducts of COVID was that a lot of people were working at home, their
Absolutely.
children were at home, and they were looking around at each other and saying, man, this house is too small. We need a bigger
Yes.
home. And then
Yes.
if you reflect back, and I would assume the same things happened in France as happened here
Absolutely.
in Indiana, is that a lot of people weren't spending any money.
Yes.
They weren't traveling. They weren't dining out.
Agreed.
So they, all of a sudden they had all this extra money, and it just really got our housing market on fire.
Yes.
Now, during the pandemic, I my goal was to stay in touch with everybody.
Okay.
So I was on the phone or on Zoom calls all day, every day.
Wow.
I did come into the office 3 mornings a week.
Okay.
And what I did on those 3 mornings, one morning I would go to our mortgage company and visit with those people that were working and thank them. The next time I came in, I would go to the title company.
Okay.
And then the next time I came in, I'd go to the accounting department. And every day when I did that, I would bring them all lunch, pizza or sandwiches.
That is awesome.
Or whatever.
Yes.
And just thank them. I think that the big thing that we probably did, and I encouraged our management team to do this. And of course, we were on Zoom calls.
Yes.
Quite honestly, I didn't know what Zoom was prior to COVID. and now Zoom's part of our daily life.
Absolutely.
But the thing that we did that helped us get through it was constant communication with our leadership team, with our agents, and with our staff.
Awesome.
And we have about 1,500 agents statewide in Indiana, and about 300 employees. We did have a few cases of COVID in our company, but fortunately we didn't have any fatalities. There were a couple people that were hospitalized, but we did require everyone when they came into an office to have masks on.
Absolutely.
And initially, in showing homes, the agents, of course, wore masks, but they wore plastic gloves.
Yes.
They didn't touch anything in the home. We did have many sellers who had their home on the market who chose to temporarily take their home off the market because they didn't want people in their home.
Agreed.
But, I look back on it right now, and it seems like it was more than a year ago.
Absolutely.
But, we weathered the storm, and I think it just shows the resilience of people.
Absolutely.
If we all pull together and we do what we're supposed to do, we can get through just about anything.
Agreed. Absolutely. I really like the fact what you shared about the governor allowing you guys to remain to be able to continue to work, because to give you an example, so we work a lot with agents in California, for example, and over there it was really hard for them, which is one of the reasons why we started this podcast in the first place, was to actually have people like yourself in common here and be able to empower and encourage them as well, because in California they were deemed as non-essential. So I really commend your governor to be able to go and really make, which is a really tough decision, and be able to allow you guys to do that. That is a powerful decision.
It was really funny. I mean, there were several of us that were on Zoom calls regularly with the governor and his staff about what was going on in real estate and why it was essential that we be a service that allowed.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you think about housing, you have all these folks who have either bought a home or in the process of buying a home and getting ready to move. And all of a sudden, if you shut everything down, their moving trucks are sitting there with the furniture. And you talk about an inconvenience to people.
Absolutely.
So we weathered the storm pretty well, I would say.
That is awesome. You kind of touched on it already. But as a president, obviously, of FC Talker, how did you stay on top of because as you said, you have a team, but you also have 1,500 men and women who are, needing to have your leadership. How did you stay on top of your clients and their clients' needs, but also your team staff and your agents' need?
I did a series of videos. In fact, I would do 2 or 3 videos a week.
Wow.
That were, some of them were aimed at the agents, just encouraging the agents.
That is
and
powerful.
Then I had some that I did that I encouraged our agents to send them to their buyers. And then I did others that would for them to send to their sellers.
That's awesome.
So I think, I think the biggest challenge was, as we were all going through it, we were in uncharted waters.
Absolutely.
We really weren't sure what was going on or how long it was going to go on. In fact, in March, when it first happened, when we first started closing down, with our executive team, we were doing economic forecasting as to what the impact this could be on the real estate industry.
Yes.
And we were looking back to the 2010, 2009, when we had the recession, and saying, this could get as bad as that. And so we were doing economic forecasting just to program what could have happened. And fortunately, that did not happen.
Absolutely. Wow, that is awesome. That is powerful. To be able to plan, you plan for the worst so that at least if that worst end up happening, you were ready for it. I think it's powerful. I think it's really powerful. So to you, Jim, what is the one aspect or element that was overlooked during this pandemic in our industry, but now it's something that is going to be here to stay, something that is undeniable, that is going to stay? What is that one thing for you?
Well, I tell you, the one thing that it brought out is that we can effectively communicate through Zoom, Google, and the different things that we never thought of before. I mean, we're not a company that has an awful lot of meetings.
Yes.
But we have had, when we have a managers meeting, and we typically do those once a month.
Okay.
We have people coming in from all over the state of Indiana, leaders from the state of Indiana to our meeting. Some of them are driving an hour or 2 hours, 3 hours one way. And we've learned that maybe we don't need to have every meeting in person. Maybe we can do one in person and then the next one as a Zoom meeting. And if you think of the man hours that are saved by not having people doing drive time,
absolutely,
I think it's going to increase productivity. Completely. I do, however, think that one of the things that we have been very cautious of as a company and very aware of, that, real estate people and salespeople like to be together.
Yes.
They enjoy the camaraderie, the esprit de corps, the learning and everything. And, we've encouraged our people now that, up until this latest threat has come, we've encouraged them to come back into the offices, and they have. So they're back and they're collaborating. One of the hardest things, Alain, was last year when this hit. We had a lot of new agents that join us each month.
Wow.
And it was very difficult for them because they couldn't be in the office. They couldn't collaborate. They couldn't hear what other agents were saying. So the learning curve for the people that joined us last year was much more difficult than it would normally be if they could have been in the office.
Wow. That is a special way to start your career during the pandemic. You could have a tougher way to get started in the business, but the great thing about agents that these people are resilient. That's the thing that I love the most about agents and people in industries is the resilience and the spirit of perseverance that they always embody. So,
and I think it was incumbent on leadership, all of our leaders, to constantly communicate.
Absolutely.
I mean, and if you just called, 30 or 40 agents a day and just checked in with them, and my dialogue went something like this: "Hi, I'm just calling to check on you. Is everything okay? Do you or your family need anything?"
Wow, that's powerful. And
most of them would say, "No, we're fine, but thank you so much for calling." Absolutely. And it just reassured them that we were there with them, and we were concerned about them.
That is powerful. I love the fact that, and I've been saying this over the last, pretty much during the course of the pandemic that we've been going through, is that I strongly believe that the companies and the agents and the people are gonna be still standing when this whole thing is done. Is exactly what you just said there, Jim. Is people who actually go beyond the sale, go beyond the transaction, but really on a human level basis. And I think that being
Absolutely.
able to do that, just check in with your agents and tell them what can I do? Is there anything that I can do? I mean, that there just reassured them, but also solidify and builds an incredible relationship between you as their leader and those women and men in the company. That's powerful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. The next question that I would like to ask you, James. So whether it's here in Europe, we're seeing it already here in Europe, but also I've seen it in some market in the US. We are experiencing record low housing inventory, tipped in sellers' favor, at least for the near term. And I was wondering at FC Tokyo Company, can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing to help your agents understand the mindset of, potential sellers in this quite tight inventory market?
Well, I think the key is, it was for us, is the sensitivity that is required on the part of an agent.
Wow.
Because, we were constant, as I said earlier, we were constantly communicating with our agents. And in many cases, the agents had a better understanding as to what was going on than
Yes.
the consumer did. And we encouraged, I would tell our agents every time I had a Zoom call with them, they should call 5 or 10 of their clients every day.
Wow.
And just say, I just wanted to give you an update from the real estate perspective. Here's what we're doing when we show
That's
homes.
awesome.
Here's the protocols that we have.
Yes.
And here's everything that's going on. I think in times of crisis, you cannot over communicate.
Absolutely.
Communication was the key. And I think, quite honestly, Alain, that was one of the things that allowed us to get through it in the manner that we did.
That is awesome. I completely agree with that. And you can see the companies that are still standing are the ones who understood that, who really became great at just communicating. And I love those updates because as a seller or as a buyer, it just puts you in a position, okay, this person is really trying to help me out. And I think that is just really, really awesome.
Mhm.
And to kind of follow up on what you're doing on an agent level as well, Jim, what are some as it pertains to listing presentations, what are you guys doing to reassure sellers that FC Tucker agents are competent to help sellers in terms of evaluate multiple offer situations? Because you're seeing that popped pretty much all over the country with issues like financing contingency or shortened closing times or rent back. What are you doing on that end as it pertains to listing presentation?
One of the things that we've done with our sellers is again, constant communication with them and to our entire consumer base that we have in Indiana, is communicate with them the competency of our agents.
Absolutely.
We're very blessed in that we've had a #1 market share in the state of Indiana.
Wow.
For 21 years.
It's incredible.
And so we're pretty much, our brand and our name is known by everybody.
Absolutely.
And we are known for professionalism and just market dominance. When you have that reputation, the consumer expects much more out of you.
Yes, agreed.
And we were constantly communicating with the entire market as to what our protocols were, as the forms that we were having our agents be tested to make sure that they were negative. And even though we couldn't demand it of people, most of our agents were pretty diligent about that. Same way with wearing masks and being respectful and doing the things that they were doing. We had all kind of documentation that we would give to a seller or a buyer before we started showing them homes or listing a home.
That's awesome.
Saying, here's what you can expect of us. And here's the way, here's what we're going to be doing. And quite honestly, some of those are still in effect today.
Wow.
We are still using some of them.
That is awesome.
Obviously, the mask prohibition has been taken away here in Indiana. Who knows, in watching the news recently, it may be re-implemented here before.
Exactly.
Hope people didn't throw all their masks away.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love what you just shared earlier about saying that you didn't demand that. It just shows again, it goes back to this. I'm a big believer in servant leadership. And I think that it just shows that as a leader, when you do things like the one that you've been talking to us about, as it pertains to just checking on people, hearing how they're doing. So when you actually ask someone to do something, there's no need for you to demand that because you've already proven that everything that you're doing, it's actually for their own good. And that is what I believe to be the really great trait of leaders.
Well, it's all about trust.
Absolutely.
And if people trust you and respect you,
absolutely,
and know that you're operating your organization the way you should, they give you the benefit of the doubt.
Absolutely.
We'll tend to listen to you.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I completely agree with that. This is a more question directly towards you, Jim. As a leader, obviously, of those women and men, what are some of the lessons that you have learned on a personal level that you didn't know about this yourself that the pandemic kind of brought to the surface? And also on a professional level, what are some of the things that you've improved on during this crisis?
Well, I do, I've always had pride in the way that I've communicated with people,
yes,
in my availability and visibility.
Yes.
I mean, right now, my typical day consists, I usually get in the office relatively early in the morning,
okay,
and get caught up on everything. But then
yes,
in the afternoons, I go out and try to visit an office, and I will take my computer with me, and I'll go out to one of our branches and just work in the office and visit with the agents and spend time with them. And I think it's, I think one of the things that's so important for leadership is leadership has got to be visible and they've got to be available. And I think so many times as people climb the ladder of success, they lose that visibility or that accessibility.
Absolutely.
And generally speaking, I talk about what I call the likability factor.
Okay.
And people talk about all the different ingredients to success. I think one of the most important things is not necessarily how smart you are, but how likable you are.
Likable, absolutely, I agree.
And how approachable you are, and are you willing to listen to people? And and I think that's the thing that I learned through this whole pandemic was there was a lot of fear, there was a lot of anxiety and uncertainty in people's minds, and their whole lives were turned upside down. With children not being in school and mom and dad working from home, and it was just a different world.
Absolutely.
I don't think any of us, when in March of 2020, when this thing first started coming down, had any dream it was going to be the way it was.
Not at all. Not at all. No. I think that it's fair to say, at least on my end, that I really thought that it would be something maybe for 2 or 3 weeks. Like that really what I was going, okay, we're gonna stay at home just for 2 or 3 weeks and then we're gonna resume everything like before, go back to the office. But no, it's been 16 months. And
we still have a lot of businesses here in Indiana that the people are still working from home.
Wow.
If you go to our downtown area of downtown Indianapolis, I mean, in pre-COVID, it would be, the streets would be packed with people from the buildings coming out and having lunch and walking around the city. If you go downtown now, there's a lot of people around. And those very people that would be dining out downtown at lunch, they're working from home still.
That is awesome. That is really
it'll be interesting to see how quickly
we resume.
People migrate back to the offices.
Agreed. We already seeing a little bit here in Europe. here in Paris specifically, where even the government, they're really enticing people now to go back to the office, like at least for 4 days out of the week. So, but
Right.
still, like you said, people are completely reluctant to it because now they kind of find the rhythm, and they actually find a way to be able to still deliver work properly and then be in the comfort of their own home. So they haven't been really successful lately as it pertains to bringing back people in the office as it pertains to Paris, at least.
If you think about it, and I've said this in different speeches that I've given, because people will ask me questions about the future of the office buildings and the vacancy rates. And I said that there are some professions that are very adaptable to working remotely.
Absolutely.
I mean, architects, engineers, accountants, people that are more task oriented, they can work from any environment. But I think if you take marketing people or advertising people or salespeople, they like to be together.
Exactly.
And, they like to collaborate. And
absolutely.
So, I mean, we just in the last several years have built several new offices.
Okay.
And a lot of people have said to me, is the tendency for people to come into the office to work or work remotely? And I've said, in our business, I believe that, certainly there are some people that we're going to choose to work remotely, but the great majority of them want to be in the office.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. To close us off, this is my last question for you. What are some of the projects that are coming up at the company for the remainder of the year that you are working on that you are really excited about?
Well, I mean, we have always had in our strategic plan, we talk a lot about we've got to get better every day. We have a philosophy that in life, one of two things happen. You either get better or you get worse.
Wow.
We have beefed up our training, and we've got training going on constantly. That's the other thing that we are very passionate about is growing through acquisitions and franchising. We have a franchise operation within our company that we have 35 franchisees out in the state of Indiana. Wow. And we're looking to expand to our surrounding states. In life, you either get better
or get worse. Die. I love it.
And I love it. And I've been a very competitive person all my life, and I am not someone who can just sit back and rest on their laurels. I tell our leadership team, we take our competency test every day.
Wow.
And if it doesn't make any difference what we did yesterday, and all that matters is what we do today and going forward. So
I love that.
We are very passionate about growth. We're very passionate about retention of our people.
Yes,
and I've always said that if we take care of our people, and we talk about family a lot, and even though we're quite large, I still consider us a family. Most of the agents in our company, I know them on a first name basis.
Wow.
And when I bought the company in 1986, we only had 250 agents. And now we've got 1,500.
It's incredible.
A lot of times I'm looking at a lady and I'm thinking, is that Mary or is it Susan?
That is awesome.
I think a lot of people ask me about, what do I do to grow? And I am an avid reader. I probably spend 3 hours somewhere a day in the 24-hour period reading either financial information, economic trends, real estate things, business books, because if I'm going to be an effective leader, I look at leadership as something, as a responsibility.
Absolutely.
To do things right, because the 1,500 agents in our company are depending on me to make the right decisions.
I agree. I agree.
But it's been a great run.
I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it for sure. And this is powerful what you just shared there because it challenges me as well because I've been saying exactly what you just said, but I haven't been able to implement it yet as it pertains to I need to read more. I get to read, but not as much. And I want to be able to read pretty much as much. And this is something that I'm definitely going to work a little bit more, going to work on way more with more intention at least.
That's a wonderful goal for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's powerful. It's definitely powerful. Um, Thank you, Jim, for your insight. This week's recovery episode with Jim Litten is now done. You can catch this episode with Jim on YouTube and on all platforms streaming podcasts. And remember, in the recovery, don't just get back to the same place, but strive to get to a better place. Thank you, everyone, as always. Jim, it was a pleasure having you on. This was a real treat for me. I've been following you and emailing you for a while now, and being able to have you on the show. That was a really really powerful moment.
Thank you, Elaine. It's been my
Absolutely,
pleasure.
absolutely. Thanks again for your time, and I wish you a good day ahead.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jim.